Hello, Michelle. How are ya?
Good, Lindsay. Lindsay, if we're all set up, what should we do then? Start recording? Start the episode?
I guess we should just get started, Michelle. Let's
Oh,
just
okay.
dive right into it then.
Let's get started then. So, guys, you may have noticed Lindsay and I using the word then a lot
Then,
just at the beginning of this
yes.
episode. Today, we're going to answer a great question from our listener, Julia, about this word that it's funny. I love these episodes where they're about a teeny tiny word and there's so much to it and there's a lot we can talk about. So this is such a good question. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a teeny tiny word, but it's everywhere in English.
All the time,
Everywhere.
constantly. It's one of those. Yep.
So this is the kind of episode that's going to get our listeners thinking after they listen today. Ooh, let's see all the different places I can find this word and how can I start to use it to link together ideas to feel more natural in English, right?
Definitely.
But
All
Michelle,
right.
what should our listeners do before we read our question of the day from Julia?
Please hit the follow button because we don't want you to miss anything from us. Sometimes I have it where if there's a podcast I listen to and I don't follow it, then I realize, oh wait, I missed all these episodes, right?
Yeah.
And so this way, it's just so much easier if you like a podcast to follow it, and then
Mhm.
I just get these little alerts, and it's great.
Yeah, good stuff. So hit that follow button right now, guys. Okay, Michelle. So today's question comes from Julia. Shall I read the
Mhm.
question?
Sure.
All right. So Julia says, "Hi, how are you doing? I'm Julia and I really enjoy the podcast." Well, thank you, Julia. That's
Thanks,
great to know.
Julia.
I've noticed that then is sometimes used to express surprise, disbelief, or emphasis, such as, "If you didn't take it, who did then?" Or, "Well, then, that's unexpected." Or,
Mhm.
"What do you want then?" How
Mhm.
does then function in these cases? Is it mainly for emphasis or does it have another role? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Mm.
Thank you. Best, Julia. Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
great question. This is going to help a lot of people, Julia. So thank you for bringing this to our attention. So,
Mhm.
this is, yeah, an important focus of the word then. So, let's
Yep.
start out by going through Julia's examples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, if you didn't take it, who did then? What is the then doing? Why could we have just said who did?
In this case, it means in that case. You
Right.
could say, if you didn't take it, who did? And sometimes people do say that. But this kind of rounds it out, I would say, a bit more.
Yeah.
It makes it more emphatic, wouldn't you say, Michelle?
Yeah, I would say who did in that case, right? It's just, yeah, I like that. I think it rounds it out. It makes it a little bit more complete. You could have left it the other way too, but we say things in different ways, right?
Yeah, and I think it also makes it a little bit more dramatic. So we said emphatic, but
Mm.
also maybe dramatic,
Emphatic,
right?
dramatic, all the rhyming words.
Yeah, there are times in
Yeah.
life when we want to be dramatic, right? If you didn't take it, who did then?
Who did
Right?
that?
You bring the drama. Don't bring it
Bring the
all the
drama.
time, but
Yes,
bring it once in a while.
exactly.
Yeah.
But once in a while. Right. So then the other example was, well, then that's unexpected.
Okay.
What do you
And
think?
again, this comes back to I'm seeing a pattern developing here, Michelle.
Mhm.
Well, in that case, right?
Mhm.
So it
Mhm.
comes back to, in these examples, in that case, related to what you just said,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or what
Hmm.
about this? What do you want then? So this one to me is it's like, yeah, in that case, in light of this, whatever is happening, what do you want then?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
same idea. Yeah.
Same idea. And of course, this is always going to be spoken in response to what someone said to us, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a breakup happening, right? And I don't know, some kind of drama with the end of a relationship. And what do you
Yeah.
want then? This person says, "Oh, you don't make me happy." What do you want then? Right?
Yes.
So just to
Yes.
emphasize that we wouldn't have the then unless someone were saying something to us,
Right, right.
right?
It's rounding out. It's not just in isolation.
It's a full
It kind of
response. Yeah.
connects to something else. Yeah,
Hmm.
good, very
Yeah.
good point. And yeah, the question also was, does it show surprise and disbelief? Um,
Oh, good question. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah. So maybe, but not always. But it does emphasize what you're saying. So yeah,
Yeah.
Julie mentioned that she's noticed that it shows surprise, disbelief, or emphasis. So yeah.
Mhm.
But let's kind of talk about that. So not always. I mean, this is not about time, right?
Right. Yes, there are a
We're
lot of
talking about it
yeah.
in a different context. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to use then, which I think we're gonna talk about maybe another day, and we
Yeah.
have before on the show. Then is such a common word in the English language. We don't have time in one episode to cover all the uses of it, right,
Yeah,
Michelle?
yeah, it's very, very common. So, but
Mhm.
let's give some more examples. So, I'll see you tomorrow then.
Okay.
So
So
sometimes it's just used in that relaxed way. Yeah.
yeah, this is really, really a marker of kind of native speaking here, how we can level up our English. Now, when we say it this way, it's not adding the layer of drama, right?
Mhm.
But it is rounding it out in a sense that it's responding to what someone has said, which is we're going to see each other again soon, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Again, and I think that to me, the best when I think of what this word actually means, if you boil it down, it's in that case, in light of this,
Yeah.
right? So that
Mhm.
connects to something else. It's that's what it means in my mind.
Yeah, and, to throw a curveball in here,
Mhm.
sometimes people say this, and I've heard myself do this, it's incredibly natural. We say it not in response to what someone said. For example, I might get on the phone if you and I were meeting okay, next week I'm going to a conference in California.
Mhm.
I might say to someone, "So where are you from then?"
Sometimes
Mm.
it's just you just put it there and you
You just
just
put it there, and it's not like, there's anything that really came before that. We've introduced each
Yeah.
ourselves, and that is a very natural and what you're trying to do is make that question feel more natural and more smooth in a sense.
Yeah. Right. It's less abrupt sounding. It kind of I don't know, it's like you're coming down smoothly from you're on the off ramp,
Yes.
right?
Yes, really interesting, but let's continue with these more direct examples, and maybe we'll come back to that example just to throw a curveball in case our listeners have heard native speakers say that then at the end and don't know what it's connected to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then Julia also had talked about well then. So yeah, we have well then don't you look nice?
Oh.
Um
Ugh.
And yeah, this is I think this well then is almost more of a chunk. I mean, it's more about surprise. Well then, let's blah blah blah, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You think it's about surprise? Yeah. Well
Not
then.
always, not always in this in this example, but it could always be well then, I think we should change what we're doing, right?
Yes, I like that. And then we have a quote here, if he doesn't show up, what will we do then? Well, this is more about time, right? What will we
Mhm.
do at that time?
Mhm.
Or
Or to
depends.
me, it's funny because I could see it in that way, but I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about it in time. I was still thinking about
Interesting.
if what will we do in that event,
In
in
that
that
case,
scenario, not necessarily what will we do exactly, but
that's really
more of
interesting.
right? It's but
Yes.
it
And
still serves kind of the same function.
it just matters what emphasis, what intonation you use, right? If he doesn't
Right.
show up, what will we do then? That's about time. If he doesn't show up, what will we do then? That's about the response in that case, right? Wow.
Interesting, right? Woo! This is my brain is going in so many different
Exploding.
directions.
Yes. What about another example, Michelle?
All right, this one is similar. This is one is very similar to what I already gave. So the restaurant says they may not have any tables. So where will we eat then?
Yeah, I think that one is clearly that one's a response in that case. If that
Mhm.
happens, where will we eat? Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Love it. This is such a good question from Julia. We're going to take a quick break and come back and keep answering this question. Okay, Michelle, we are back. Now, when would we see ourselves throwing in then? What
Yeah. So
scenarios? Yeah.
right. So as we mentioned, here are some of the things we've kind of already talked about. So changing
Mhm.
plans,
Uh-huh.
reviewing plans, kind of planning for another maybe if you need to plan up something a backup plan, what will we do then? What will if
Mhm.
that doesn't
Yep.
work, what will we do then? Or
Yep.
ending conversations. So like
Yep.
see you tomorrow then.
Right, exactly. In that case, in the case that we will come together tomorrow, I'll see you tomorrow
Mhm.
then, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Surprise when you're stating surprise, well then, I never
Mhm.
knew XYZ, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Or saying in that case or in that scenario, if that happens. And to me, that's for me, I think that's the biggest one that I'd love our listeners to walk away with is
Mhm. Me
thinking
too.
of it in that case, because we're talking about a lot here and
Yeah,
it
we
might
are.
be a little bit intimidating here to hear all
You're
of
right.
this because there's a lot of different situations. So for in our opinion, try it thinking of it of in that case, in that event, in
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
scenario,
Mhm. Yeah.
and see how you can put it on there. If you're going to pick up one thing from the episode and walk
Yes.
away without overwhelming yourself, start with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Michelle. That's so true. That's going to cover probably 80% of the
Yeah.
scenarios with the use of then in this way, not to talk about time or other things, right? So in that case is what we're trying to say
Mhm.
here. Let's see this in a role play, Michelle, shall we?
Let's do it. Here we go. All right. So
Yes.
we are friends planning for our friend's surprise party.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Okay. So we will tell her what?
Um that she has a meeting with her boss.
Okay, but isn't her boss away? How would that help us then?
Oh, good point. We can just tell her I need help moving then.
Oh, good idea.
Well, then, I'm glad you like it.
Okay.
All right. Nice. So again, in that case, right? Using this as an example to mean in that case. So first you said, well, I said that we could tell her that she has a meeting with her boss and you said,
Mhm.
"Okay, but isn't her boss away? How
Mhm.
would that help us then?" And then here then means in that case in response to what, Michelle?
In response to you saying that we could say she has a meeting with the boss,
Yeah,
right?
and then
Because her boss is away.
because her boss is away, right? So you're kind
Mhm.
of responding to yourself. You've said,
True.
"Oh, her
Yeah,
boss
yeah,
is
yeah.
away." So how would that help us in that case, the case that her boss is away?
Right. And again, I could have just said, "How will that help us?" But again, I think of this as an off ramp. I just think of it as a way to
Often.
smooth it out.
Yeah,
Just
interesting.
adding it on. I don't need it, but it just does make it sound a little bit more gentle. I don't know.
Is it like we're downshifting from 5th gear into 4th gear
Yeah,
and
maybe
getting off the freeway? Nice.
slow down. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, so it's an off ramp, it's a response, it's rounding it out. It's really responding because we've talked about on this show that a key marker of connection is actually responding to what the person has said. In this case, you responded to yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself. Okay. Then you said, "Oh, good point. We can just tell her I need help moving then." So you're making
Yes.
another suggestion. You're saying in light of what you said.
In light of is another way to say it. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Exactly. Right. And then you said, "Oh, good idea." And now I brought out the more
Well then.
dramatic way by saying what?
Well then, I'm glad you like it. And well then, I don't want to I don't want to introduce another context necessarily, but just
Yeah.
really quickly, sometimes you might hear, "Well then, I'm leaving," right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
show
it's a very different use here
yeah.
of then, right?
Yeah.
But we talked about it earlier in the episodes. We just wanted to show you an example here. Good. Michelle, is there another episode our listeners should check out?
Yeah, guys, head on over to episode 2380. That was Keep English Straight with These Idioms.
Very nice. And guys, don't forget to hit that follow button on the show. And I think for our takeaway today, Michelle, it comes back to connection. Like I said, as much as you can let the person know you've heard them and you are responding to them, because these days
Mhm.
people don't listen, right? They don't
Yeah.
always listen. And so people like to make sure to know that you're listening to them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Very important. And again, if you are overwhelmed at all by the information you learned today, try it in pieces. I would say first just go with that in light of
Yes.
right, I would go with that. And try it first in that way, like using it in that case.
Mhm.
And then you can move on to some of these other examples. But yeah,
Yes.
definitely give this a try. It's very useful. It sounds nice when you add then.
It sounds nice. We want to sound nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds nice. All right.
All right. Sounds good, Michelle. I'll see you in the next episode. You take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right, bye.